Everybody, it is the Gaming Bounty Board, and today I've got Hyacsho again for like the third time. Here we are to talk about first-person shooters.
I'm being a regular on this show, aren't I? That's pretty cool, I think.
Hey, you're getting close. I think you, this will be, you're tied with Sputnik now. He might actually have one more than you.
Oh, competing.
All right. So you've done a video on, yeah, it's great to have you as well. You have a video on Doom. You good?
I do. Yeah, sorry. Something in front of my
Very good. Yeah, you have a video on Doom that you did recently that was, less of a review or retrospective kind of thing, even though there's obviously a bit in there because it's all of a personal journey. It's a fan's story.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to touch on that. Like, that is obviously one of the most influential for you as a kid and as an adult and as a person for first-person shooters. And I want to talk about what the one that is for me as well, but also I wanted to tell you that you inspired me to write a video about mine that eventually will come out this year. And surprisingly, it's also the 20-year anniversary of the one that I'll be talking about as well. So.
Oh, 10 out of 10. That is pretty awesome. Like, yeah. I think you know what? I sat down there and I wanted to talk about Doom for the 30th anniversary, right? Because I didn't talk about it for the 25th and I missed out on that and all that jazz. But I was like, I really want to talk about something. Like, what on earth do I talk about? Like, you can kind of say about Doom has kind of already been said. And around the same time when I was thinking about it, Under the Mayo published a video about his fan story with Mortal Kombat. And I was actually like, yeah, all right, I'll do that. And it was the weirdest experience because I started writing it was all fine. And then it immediately evolved in the writing process. It evolved into this retrospective. Cool.
Yeah.
There?
Yeah, I'm here.
And it evolved into this retrospective, and I wrote it. I did 3 drafts. I was like, I'm not here to do a retrospective, but I'm really enjoying this though as well. So it was quite a fun experience just to talk about my story, but also like a little bit of the history, and it was fun. It was really good.
I saw Mayo's video as well. He I like majority of his stuff. Right, he has some opinions that I don't agree with, which is fine. But I really did enjoy his video on Mortal Kombat because I also am a huge fan of Mortal Kombat, and I have probably just as much of a story to tell on that I probably will do one day as I do the game that I'll be talking about today. But because, Mortal Kombat was like one of the games that me and my dad always bonded over, and I have a Mortal Kombat tattoo. He has a Mortal Kombat tattoo. You know what I mean? So,
but
yeah, so let's just jump into why, or if Doom is the most influential and important one, right? Why is that? What made it so special and so formative for your love of first-person shooters?
Well, this is the thing, right? I think when it comes to first-person shooters, it really influenced my future or the games that I liked. Obviously, like I say, Doom for me is right up there. I've got a Doom tattoo, for goodness sake. It's one of those things, right? But I think it's cool to also talk about some of the other games that also had an impact in one way or another. And it's going to sound, the first few that I wanted to mention is kind of around the same era, but it's all around that early phase of childhood where, yes, Doom was in that phase, but so was Heretic and so was Duke Nukem 3D. Right. It was... Yeah, and these games are like really had a massive impact for different reasons. For me, like Heretic was weird because a lot of I mentioned this in my video, but a lot of my cousins played Heretic multiplayer, not Doom multiplayer. Right. Which was weird, and I never really understood that. But it's like later in life, you're like, oh, okay, so it was just an easier way for them to play multiplayer. Sorry, I've got a bloody eyelash in my eye, but it's fine.
Oh, good.
But
you got those. Heretic, you got those long eyelashes like I do. They just kind of like get all and everything.
I mean, how old are you now? You're in your 20s, right?
Yeah, I'll be 26 this year.
You know what I mean? You're gonna get there. Like I'm getting there, like my grandfather did. Eventually, my eyebrows are gonna start coming over my eyes.
Oh yeah, it's start like anyway. Look like the Lorax. Like that.
Exactly. But anyway, so look, for me, Duke Nukem was out there as like one of my favorites, and I'll tell you why. Duke Nukem was kind of like our we're we're big kids now. We play Duke
Yeah.
Nukem. Duke Nukem is a big kids game because there's strippers and he's a badass.
Shake it for me, baby.
It's these things. Yeah, it's shake it, baby, and this whole kind of thing. And for us, like Duke Nukem was that kind of game, right, where we could go in and have a bit of fun, but it was for the big kids to play, where the littler kids used to play. Myself and my cousin Brandon were the older ones, and
I would say that it still requires a very certain kind of individual to play it to this day. So I love it. I love it myself, but it's not for everybody. That's for sure.
Which is weird. Like, I mean, I only know why now. Now that I'm older, I know why it's not for everybody. But growing up, I was just like, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread, I mean, it was fun, it was engaging, and now that I'm older, I understand why. Like, a lot of the build engine mechanics were engaging and intuitive. You could do things like open up a magazine or flush a toilet.
Yeah, and I think
Doom didn't
that
obviously
level
allow you to do.
Yeah, that level of interactivity was I mean, it kind of predated, well, to a degree, it predated the immersive sim level of interaction. Now, of course, System Shock is older than Duke, but Duke is much more popular than System Shock. It's kind of like, yeah, people know what Prey is or Dishonored, but BioShock was by far more popular, right? And so it's like, sometimes that one game that was popular maybe a little bit later kind of actually made that a mainstream thing before the thing that started it. And I think
interesting that you bring that up,
engine,
yeah. And the reason why I mention it is because I'm by no means like a pro when it comes to ImSims or whatever. But what is interesting to me is if you listen to the way John Carmack spoke a lot about the Doom engine and building Doom and things like that, he spoke a lot about the immersion of being inside the game and things. I mean, he speaks a lot about that today, and a lot of the old guys do. But I think and again, I'm not a pro, so someone will correct me here, but I think back then there wasn't so many specific boxes of, oh, this is a first-person shooter, this is a immersive sim, and whatever. They all kind of just strived.
Yeah, at the time of the original Doom, there definitely wasn't. Like, I don't even. Well, at that point, the only thing we would have had was Ultima, which, I mean, if anything, would have been considered a dungeon crawler RPG, even though it's technically now known as like the grandfather of all immersive sims.
See what I mean? And back then, everything was just trying to be somewhat immersive within whatever game style they were making. And that's why I think Duke kind of went away and went just like, yeah, let's add in a few extra features. It wasn't considered, these are immersive features. These are just immersive things that will be for fun. And actually, I was thinking here now, what's interesting? A lot of games don't want to do that anymore. They want to stick in their little box. And I understand that. But it's very rare these days that we got to get a lot of Doom cute or any kind of immersive elements in a lot of shooters these days. I mean, with obvious exceptions like Dusk, which does try and make a bit more interesting engagement with its elements. We
definitely don't get like that build it. Like, I mean, less Doom. Doom's more of in my opinion, it's more of like a fast-paced atmospheric thing. And the biggest interactive aspect of it is like barrels and like or shootable things, and like, secrets were like mind-blowing. That was like a huge thing, right? Secrets were crazy in that. Probably one of the earliest things to really do secrets. But the build engine, right, Duke and Blood and Shadow Warrior and all that, really kind of push that limit of what is interactable, what can, I mean, if you can use the toilet, look in the mirror, you can break the glass. Now, it wasn't like immersive sim where like you're finding these, there's not systems that are, have their own form of autonomy that can like, the AI is not overly complex, blah, blah, blah. But the level of interactivity within the environment is insanely impressive. I mean, still to this day, you go play Duke 3D, and it has more interactable aspects of its gameplay than games for the last 20 years. I mean,
yeah, and I don't know why. Well, I mean, we can speculate 100.
Nowadays, people would call something like the build engine like a tech demo games. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're demoing tech, which kind of Duke was, right? And Shadow Warrior just kind of like kept going with it. But
who came first? Duke or Shadow Warrior? I can't remember.
Duke. Shadow Warrior was like the last build engine game. It was like 97 or something, or 98 or something like that. No, it was 99. It was pretty
You know
late.
what? I threaten every time I come onto your podcasts to dig deeper into build. And you know what? I do jack shit.
Dude, Build Engine,
it's always so interesting to me.
Build Engine's great, but I'm pretty sure Shadow Warrior was like what after Duke. It was definitely after Duke.
Really it was. Because for me, for me, like we're talking build now, right?
Yeah,
I've got like this. Wait, this podcast is 18, right? We're okay still.
Yeah.
I can be my weird self. I can be my weird self.
Yeah, trust me. I click the not for kids box every time. It's okay.
Excellent. For me though, like I have a raging Build Engine boner, okay, and I've had it for like the last 8 months, where I just want to play Blood, Duke, Shadow Warrior, go back to Ion Fury and replay that whole series. And
well, they're great, so I mean that only makes sense, right?
They're just so great. Like for me, I feel, and you know what, Blood has been one of my favorite entries in Build for like forever. For example, actually, let's talk about Blood. Okay, Blood was like my depressive phase when I came into like games. Okay, obviously I started with Doom, then we had the whole family thing with Duke Nukem and everything like that, and that was all great. I swear to you now, Blood came into the picture when my family had this weird phase where my aunt went away and there was this divorce in on that one side of the family, and then we stopped family night dinners for like a half a year. Just go with me on this, and it was weird, but because I didn't see my cousins so much, Blood somehow arrived in my PC through my dad, and I started playing Blood. But
I remember how you said that your dad would buy you like different games for PC and stuff like that.
Yeah, my dad or my uncle or whatever, and Blood arrived there. But honestly, looking back, I had no idea. Okay, because I just played on cheats on Blood all the time when I was a kid. Because, well, of course you did, right? But now looking back, I'm like, wow.
Blood is one of the harder ones as well, too. So it is one of the more challenging Build Engine games.
I had no idea like how much as a youngster, I was missing out on, and things like that. So I really want to go back and just enjoy it on my own, and go back into Blood and go back into Shadow Warrior. I'll still not finish the original Shadow Warrior because it was too difficult at the time for my little kid brain.
I haven't finished either, but I've had it for years. I've had the classic Redux for years. And even if you wanted to play it now, for anybody out there, like it's only like $10 and it's worth it. Like it's very much worth it.
Oh, it is worth it.
As long as you can, of course, look past all of the dated humor and dated stuff, and the whole thing is a spoof. I mean, just look at a lot of these things. Look at Duke Nukem, but think kind of worse. But it's, you know what I mean. It's just that same thing. It's just a parody. At the end of the day, it was never meant to offend anybody. It was just a parody of popular culture at the time.
That it's like, what is it? 80s and 90s action heroes.
Yeah,
but no, for me, those Build Engine games, and Blood was insane, man. Like I loved it because it had all the blood, and there was this time where my dad, of all things, like he's like, "Wow, there's a lot of blood in this," and I'm like, "It's called Blood," but he had no idea how visceral they made it. But I loved it. Hey, like, I mean, I know I stuck on that game for quite a while, but I replayed many stages over and over and over. It was always something I could rely on back when I was a teenager, edgy emo teenager that didn't listen to like Linkin Park. I was listening to what was I listening to? I was listening to hip hop because I was trying to fit in. But like it was a strange phase, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Shadow Warrior was the last Build Engine game. It came out like right after Blood. They were both like the final original Build Engine games, and then technically after like the same year, Redneck Rampage came out, and it was based off Duke's engine. But you know, most people don't really talk about that because it's Redneck Rampage.
Yeah,
it's not great.
What's the hang up on that game?
Apparently, it's just not great. I haven't played it, but apparently its level design is really bad. Its story's bad. You know, and I mean, it's the premise is, you know, funny, especially for someone like myself who grew up in these areas and stuff, and it's kind of based off like a, you know, it's a caricature of people where I live, right? So that aspect has always been something hilarious to me, and I've never played the game, and I really want to, but I heard it's like that that one game that recently came out that they did a remaster of, and what was it called?
Rock?
No.
Kingpin.
Kingpin, yeah. It's by the same developers as Kingpin, so yeah.
That was so sad, though. By the way, that was so sad. I know we're here for one topic, but this is how we always talk, right? That was such a sad end result, that Kingpin. Now, I'd never played the Kingpin games myself.
I never did either.
But I was keen because I was like, every time they do these things, it's good for me who never had it when I was younger, but now I get a chance to come and play it, right? And to see how those games were torn apart. And I know the lead developer, or was it the director, the game director for Kingpin, Reloaded. He even said, and I think a lot of people do forget this. I do want to like remind everybody. He did say that the code no longer existed. So they had to build
they had to
things
do it all from the
scratch.
ground up,
Exactly. And which made me really sad to see that they weren't able to, considering they were building it from scratch, they didn't seem to be able to.
And it was already like kind of considered a bad game, and then they were trying to make it better, and it really didn't. I guess it seemingly didn't hit, better.
Yeah.
So it sucks, but they could do something and turn it around. I don't know, but
I think they could. I mean, for me, like at the end of the day, a game like that is a game like that. Generally, it's always going to be a difficult one because if you don't think of it this way, if you don't make it perfectly enough for the old guys that have played it, you're going to be on shit, okay? If you don't update it enough to play properly, the new guys are not going to like it. So it's this fine line of getting it nearly perfect the second time around.
Very fine line.
So I'm sure they'll. Personally, I'm sure they'll update it and they'll get it right. I mean, they seem like they got a nice guy running the show. I forget his name. I think he's a Scotsman. He had a Scottish accent. I don't know. I forget his name, but he seemed like a nice chap. I think
the whole development team seemed pretty legit, and they seemed cool, and like they really tried. So I want to see what they do after that, and maybe they can turn around the game and get some more time into it, update it, change it up. Who knows? But so we went from build engine. What would you say? We're getting close to the era that I'm going to start talking about. But so what would you say after build engine? Like, what was the next thing that really push the boundary of the FPS? Because we know Doom is you're here, right? This is Duke's in here, I guess, right? And then you know
what, man, I've had such a weird history with, like, because I've had a weird childhood after a while, but like I think the next one that only clicks for me right now in this instance is when the marketing for Halo 3 started to come out. And I know that's like we're skipping decades now, but like for me, that's the only time that I can.
Before we do that, I'm gonna back a little bit. Well, yeah, we're definitely gonna come back to Halo 3. That's a good one. We'll come right back to that.
Yeah.
You saw the FPS doc, right? The new one.
I have not yet. It's 4 hours of. That's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time. I bought it and I watched it like a week or two ago. It's fantastic. You will love it for sure.
Brilliant.
You know, I watched it in increments as well, but it's definitely a good time. So I'll go with I started playing first person shooters with, funny enough, Call of Duty and Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
So I played Call of Duty with my uncle on original Xbox, and then I played Medal of Honor with my dad on PS2. And so that was the kind of I always associated Call of Duty with Xbox and Medal of Honor with PlayStation. And those were mostly what I played for a while.
Yeah, dude, you bring that up. You're so right.
Yeah, and those were really good. I think like the old Call of Duties were pretty good. Medal of Honor was really good. I really liked Medal of Honor, especially Rising Sun was a good one.
Nice.
And so those were really good. I come
from the Medal of Honor 1 days. Like we used to compete at school with that kind of thing. Like it was a whole thing. Dude, what happened to Medal of Honor? Where the hell is Medal of Honor?
Well, Medal of Honor went for a while, and then they tried rebooting it into the 360 PS3 days in Afghanistan and stuff, pulling a Call of Duty. And I feel like they did an okay job, but it just didn't, nowadays, like shooters are pretty, or at that point in time, those early 2010s, at that time, the only thing carrying a shooter was multiplayer, and it didn't really carry it with multiplayer. Yeah. And then they made Warfighter in like 2013 or 14, and I enjoyed both the games. I want to be honest with you. I actually liked them more than the Call of Duties at the time. Gameplay-wise and story-wise, they were fantastic. They literally were doing what Call of Duty's doing now with the new Modern Warfare games then, but it was just too early.
Yeah.
Because now we're at a point where people...
Some of the Medal of Honor games now.
Yeah, so people actually care about, campaigns again now, but at that point, it wasn't really a big thing.
which pisses me off. Okay, because I always cared about the campaigns, and they went harder and harder into multiplayer. And I'm like, my brother and I used to buy a Call of Duty every year up until the original Call of Duty.
I bought them for the
Modern
campaign.
Warfare 3. Yeah, we bought them for the campaign because we were those kids, right?
I also eventually ended up buying them for Call of Duty Zombies as well, but
that was good though.
I love Call of Duty Zombies. But so
when did
what?
Sorry,
no, you're
I was
good.
gonna say, when did Call of Duty fall off for you?
Fall off? Well,
do you still rank it?
I still play Call of Duty to this day. I would say that I played Call of Duty all the way up to Cold War pretty frequently. I still think Cold War is probably one of the better, the more recent games. I think the campaigns started kind of getting rough around Black Ops 3, which has by far one of the worst campaigns. And then, they would go on with Black Ops 4 and not even have a campaign. And then they kind of picked back up with the newer Modern Warfares, which I haven't played those. And I loved Cold War's campaign. Like, as somebody who loves 80s action movies, 90s action movies, so Cold War's campaign was like you mixed a James Bond movie with an 80s action movie together. It was phenomenal. I loved it. And it was a sequel to Black Ops too, so...
Totally. And I agree. I'm just looking at the list right here because this is taking me back. We've got the original... Wow, I'm old, eh? The original Call of Duty World at War, that was awesome. For a campaign, that was sick. That was when we were doing Japanese campaign. That was made by Treyarch. And
World at War is
awesome.
fantastic.
And I think isn't that when we first got zombies as well?
Yes, that was the beginning of zombies, and that was also one of the very few Call of Duty games that actually have gore. Like, if you shoot somebody in the campaign with a trench gun, which is a shotgun, right? You blow their arms off, their legs off. Like, there's gore, there's blood, there's guts. And that was only in World at War, Sledgehammer's World War II, and I think a little bit of Black Ops 4, and that's like the only ones that ever had gore of any kind. Or a lot of blood.
I definitely dropped out at Black Ops 2. So no, I didn't buy. I wanted to buy Ghosts. I was very tempted to buy Ghosts. And then when they came out, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, I definitely didn't buy that onward.
I think you would be pleasantly surprised by Ghost campaign.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I just want to, you know what? I just want a good espionage, battle, warfare, Call of Duty game again. They could definitely double down on their multiplayer. I know that's where they make their money, right? But my gosh, guy, I just miss a great warlike campaign.
Oh, I feel you. I feel you.
And I know there was this controversial thing when they were like, oh no, we shouldn't do World War games anymore because it's not very respectful and this whole thing. And I do appreciate that, but at the same time, having a World War game in my life made me interested in the World Wars to actually go and find out more about them, understand them. It wasn't like I was some stupid kid that was just like, ugh.
Yeah. Funny enough, I think I've mentioned it to you maybe before. I've definitely mentioned it on the podcast with other people before, but I actually learned probably just as much, if not even more, history from video games than I did school. Playing Call of Duty.
Those in the back that didn't hear.
Yeah, playing Call of Duty, playing Medal of Honor, playing Assassin's Creed, playing all these different things. Yes, some of them modify history and make certain things that are not true, but a lot of them have actual things that tell you what is and what isn't real. There's logs and there's like encyclopedias and stuff that you can look through, and a large portion of what they do is real history. So,
it's brilliant. And for me, I know at the time, it was always this trope of like, oh, I've learned more from games than school. It is sad, but you're right. It's exactly that.
Sad.
I mean,
it's sad that I was in high school and we were learning about the Revolutionary War, which is funny enough. They don't really even teach much about the Revolutionary War in America before high school. They teach a little bit, but not very much. It's kind of funny because you should be learning that from like day one, because it's one of the most important. It's one of the most important things in our entire life. It would be like another country's like thing that, it'd be like you go into school in Mexico and not teaching about the Mexican or not the Mexican American War, but now I'm blanking. I forget the war where they got their original independence. I forget the name of it.
Yeah,
But
they've
it'd
got
be
a
like
special
not learning your country's war that made them a thing. But in
made them
high
the
school,
country.
yeah. So in high school, we were learning about the Revolutionary War, and like you got the teacher asking questions, and I'm over here answering the questions before they even asked the question, and it was largely from the fact that I watched a lot of history movies with my grandmother. I watched the History Channel with my grandmother. I read a few books, and I also played like Assassin's Creed 3 and stuff like that, and all these things together, and like everybody else was in the classroom literally with no knowledge of the Revolutionary War, like the
Which freaked
Revolutionary
me
War,
out, dude. Yeah, this
which
is
is
the
like
thing. Like anytime we
the
had
war for our country. It just doesn't
exactly,
compute.
I found that a lot where guys would just like not know things, and I'm like, how do you not know these things? It's in our games, for goodness sake. It's in our cartoons sometimes. You know, if we're
I mean,
lucky
don't get me
enough.
wrong. There's people out there in that don't even know what the Civil War is in America. So, yeah,
Well, that's interesting. Don't worry, there's a lot of people. I have that kind of people also where I'm from. I
yeah,
suppose.
it's
But
it's a weird thing.
no,
But
the world needs the world needs people to dig holes,
look,
I suppose.
yeah,
Um,
history
but
is
anyway,
important. You need to learn it. You need to know it to learn from it. That's
I
important.
agree.
But
But yeah, but
it's
this is the thing, right?
yeah,
Well, Call of Duty had that impact on us, I
it did.
suppose.
It
That was
did.
very positive. That's very
So did Medal
positive.
of Honor. You know what I mean? Like, and for all
Medal
the
of
things
Honor,
that people
yeah.
say about video games, you can learn from them. So it's kind of funny. I'm skipping over what I'm trying to get to because we were talking Call of Duty, but there's a memory that I have. One of my earliest memories with Call of Duty was actually
From the story.
not just playing with my uncle, playing the first two, which I played a lot, but Call of Duty 3, which came out in like 2006 or 7, something like that.
Yeah, must be.
It's funny to say that I'm old enough to have played that, right? At the same time, because there's people out there who were not even born or were not even old enough to play it. And it's funny for me as someone who's, in their 20s, but also it's like I remember going to Best Buy and with my grandparents, and they were in there buying something, probably a TV or whatever. And I went off on my own to look at games like I do at every store in my entire childhood. And so I went to the game section and they had a couch sitting there, right? And they had a big like 60-inch TV, and Call of Duty 3 had just come out.
Hell yeah.
And they had Call of Duty 3
those
in there, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I literally sat there on that couch and played Call of Duty 3 on that TV the whole time we were there until they were looking for me. They couldn't find me, and I was just sitting on the couch playing Call of Duty 3. And they eventually found me, and then we left. Awesome. But then I later got Call of Duty 3. I don't know if I got it that day or another day, but I got it. And, dude, it was Call of Duty 3 is a good game. And, it was a different time for Call of Duty especially, but it was a big game, and it was a good one.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to actually go back and do some real stuff on those games because I remember my brother and I used to we were diehard fans of Call of Duty 2, and at the time we weren't really sure why to get Call of Duty 3. We were kids, so we didn't, who knows anyway. But one of the biggest things was like, okay, so we do want Call of Duty 3, and then when we actually played it, we realized it's just massively good polish compared to the original game, compared to number 2. And for me, that was brilliant. And it was like one of the last, I don't know. I'm looking at the box art right now, dude. That's some real shit right there. That's
it was one of the last like true World War II games outside of like World at War that would come many years later. Which even World War II, of course it had zombies and some other unrealistic stuff or whatever, but in a more cinematic story, whereas like Call of Duty 3 was just kind of like, you went in there and it was like you were the troops and you're doing this, and it's kind of like, war in a way. But also Call of Duty 3 was the first one to like allow a little bit more of like larger maps with a little bit more intricacy in them, and you had like multiplayer had tanks and vehicles and stuff like that would, was more known for Battlefield, but on console it was, I don't even know if Battlefield was on console at the time.
No, I don't think so. I know my brother and I parted our preferences. I don't remember which Battlefield came out, but he wanted to be his own thing. So he started getting into Battlefield, where I carried on with Call of Duty for a while.
Right.
And I know there was that one Battlefield. I think it was Battlefield 4. Might have been. I can't remember. And it had that really awesome blue and orange cover art and everything like that. That really, really awesome shit. And Yeah, no, Battlefield was also. I didn't play much of it. Though,
Oh, that
but
was
I mean,
that was Bad Company, I think. Bad Company 2 or 1 or 2.
no, no,
That
no,
had the
no. It was
orange,
Battlefield.
wasn't it?
Oh no, Battlefield. But it doesn't matter. It's one of those back in the olden times when games were games on their own. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
find it though
mean,
for you.
yeah. Battlefield Bad Company is it's a Battlefield game.
Really? Oh, sorry, my bad. You see, I know
All good.
nothing about the old Battlefield. No, but those are old games. Those are really good.
The first Bad Company was my first Battlefield game, and that was really cool.
What was the one with the smiley face?
That was Bad Company,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Always
Yeah.
wanted to play it, didn't play it.
Yeah.
Always wanted to play it.
That was the best one, man, because you playing as like this secret covert ops, like it's kind of like the Expendables movies, right? You were like that group. You're the expendable like Secret Service guys. You just went in there and just messed shit up, and you didn't really have any rules. You know what I mean? Like you basically didn't exist. So it was kind of interesting. And it was the first game that I played that had like environmental destruction as far as like a first person shooter. So that was pretty impactful, right? That was a pretty big one. We're talking about impactful games, but I want to rewind it just a little bit and go back to the original Xbox, which was probably, I had a PS1 and Nintendo 64 prior to that, but that was mostly, and even when I played with my uncle or my dad, that was mostly like 3D platformers, like God of War or not God of War on PS1, but, like Medieval and Shadow Man, different things like that. Like, Spyro. It was a lot of 3D platformers, wrestling games, and stuff like that.
Yeah, good times.
And then
also had a PS1.
Yeah, I love the PS1. But on original Xbox, when I got mine eventually, I can't remember all the games that I started off with, but I know I had like Lego. No, that had to been before. That was after. I don't know what I started off with. I had a few things, but I was going to say Lego Star Wars, but that was after this game that I'm going to talk about. Whatever I had at the time, I'm not 100%. Yeah, whatever it is that I had at the time, I'm not sure, but there was a few different games that I'm sure I had. I'd have to go look back at my games, but the biggest one is let's just say Mortal Kombat. I had a few Mortal Kombat games that would have been out prior to this. So I went to Kmart, which is no longer around in my area, and there was a Kmart in the city close to us, and I went there with my grandparents before. It was back when like stores actually had like the Xbox or the PlayStation hooked up to a TV in the game section, and you could sit there and play it. Well, they had Halo 2 hooked up, and I had never played a Halo before. I had never played Combat Evolved, and so I played it and stuff, and I asked my grandmother if I could get it, and she's like, no, that's rated M, you don't need that. So you gotta remember, I was like 6 or something, right? Now, do remember, I did already have like Mortal Kombat by then, but my grandmother didn't really pay attention to the games I had, but she paid attention to the ones that she bought me. Not the ones that like my dad got me or my grandfather got me or something like that. My granddad would bring me games all the time from like the flea market and stuff, and he wouldn't tell her, you know what I mean? Like he would just bring them to me and stuff, and it was great. Which will bring me to another game that's pretty important. So, anywho, I went back to Kmart sometime after that. It's probably still had to be in 2004. It might have even been 2005, in that area, because Halo 2 came out 2004. And Halo 2 was there again, but I was with my uncle this time. And I said, hey, you should, he was like my big brother, kind of, because we grew up in the same household, and, I was like, hey, you should buy me Halo 2. He had no knowledge that my grandmother said no. I didn't tell him that, naturally. And guess what? He bought me Halo 2. And that would go on to be one of the most important and impactful video games and first-person shooters that I have ever played in my life. Not only from, like, booting up the game, and they had what I didn't even know was the Halo theme before, but they had the Halo theme with the guitar riff. And I'm already a fan of rock and metal. And then it would go, and then you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then boot up the game, and you're in space and all this. And like literally the end of the first mission, you hop on a bomb, go out into space, and then launch it at another, like at the enemy ship, and blow it up, and then launch yourself back into the ship. And I'm like, what?
How's that going against, like, I'm going to give them back their bomb?
Yeah. And you're like, yeah.
Oh man,
it was awesome, right? And just and it was different. It was the regening health, the fact that the game, like, your health had a purpose, right? Like your health regen, but it was because you had a shield, and when that shield went down, you were like 1 or 2 bullets from death. You know, and a lot of people talk crap because Halo 2 popularized regenerating health, which I think Halo did regenerating health well and made it make sense. Now, many other games like Call of Duty and stuff later down the line, they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't explain it. It wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't be as well done. Like, there's no reason to have regenerating health in Call of Duty per se. There's no way to really explain that. But, you know, Halo, it made sense. Yeah. You know, and you're the super soldier badass. It was, yeah.
I'm getting a really random phone call. Just a second.
All good.
Sorry. Anyway,
okay,
yes. It was that Halo 2. Halo 2.
Yeah, I mean, Halo 2 was just phenomenal, man. And then it was also like the first game where I started playing like multiplayer local with my uncle. I think my granddad played some with me. My dad probably played some with me. He wasn't much of a first-person shooter person back then, but he played some. I played with my brother and sister, all my friends. Like, I would go to my mom's house, and her boyfriend at the time, and my brother and sister's cousins, like they would all sit on the edge of the bed, and we would all play split screen and take turns, like who lost and all that on the TV. And it was like a little 20-something inch CRT. So
perfect.
You know, and we were all sitting on the edge of the bed, just trying to see our screens like this. You know what I mean? Like, it was such a small little square. It was smaller than our windows on Discord right now. Like, it was just.
And you had to go up there, and you look really close. We had my grandfather had a similar thing where he had also CRT, but it was one of these. I'm not lying to you. This big.
Yeah.
This big. And we played many a multiplayer on that little thing, but
yeah. Yeah, you could just barely see it, you know. But yeah, I mean, like, and so I mean, it was just so impactful and so great. I played that campaign more times than I could count. You know, I never even knew as a kid that was like the game that was, I mean, it's significantly shorter than the rest. It was a rush development. It had like a crazy cliffhanger ending. All this stuff, right? But dude, it was just perfect for me. I actually just recently beat Halo 2, finally, the remastered version, for the first time ever. It's been out for 10 years, and I have owned it and still never beat it. I don't know why. For some reason, I fell out of love with Halo. I don't know how, but it just happened behind the screens without me knowing it, and I just played other stuff.
And when I started, similar experience.
Yeah, when I started playing that again, no, you're fine. I started playing it again, and I remembered my love for Halo. I went down memory lane just thinking about it and playing it. And the funny part is that it came from watching the FPS doc, and I wasn't even to the Halo part yet. And my fiance was watching it with me, and, you know, we were talking about like some of my favorite games and stuff like that. And then it just hit me. I was like, why have I not played the Halo 2 remaster? Why have I not played Halo in like nearly 10 years? Like, why have I not played Halo in so long?
Yeah, dude.
And it was just weird. And it wasn't long, you know what I mean, after watching your video on Doom, and because I started thinking about Halo when I watched that. And then I was like, why? You know, why did this happen? I don't know. But it's like I reconnected with a part of myself that's been missing, and it was crazy. And now it's back. Dude. And, you know, I just remember why I love Halo so much. Why Halo 2 was such a amazing game, and it was one of the most impactful, just most important games that I probably ever played, and it furthered my love of first-person shooters for the rest of my life.
Brilliant, my man. Like it's so cool to hear shit like that, because for me, it's like I only came back to play Combat Evolved like ages later. My first introduction to Halo was Halo 3. Because of firstly, the marketing was very good. But I got a Halo 3 because I had the Xbox 360, and a few of my friends were long-term Halo fans like yourself. And I was like, okay, we'll get Halo 3. And I just got onto Halo from that, because I'm a story guy. You know, I love the story. And then I started playing a little bit of the multiplayer, but I had a different life. I was a lot older and things like that, so I missed out on a lot of the multiplayer. So hearing your story and things like it's awesome, man. I wasn't playing Halo Evolved, but we had our own multiplayer games too.
A funny thing is that I didn't. So the first game that I ever played like online multiplayer was Modern Warfare 3. which was pretty important, right? But ironically, the true defining experience that I had online was Halo Reach. I never played a single like matchmaking ever. It was just custom games. I met people. Dude, I know a guy to this day. He's like, when we met him, I mean, I was pretty young. He's in his 50s. He's probably in his 60s now. I'm still friends with him on Xbox, and he was making maps back then. He had a whole community around him. We were playing with like 30 plus people every day. Every time I hopped online, these people that I didn't know in real life were inviting me into parties and wanted me to play Halo before I even could have an opportunity to get settled down. You know what I mean? It was a crazy time that I've not really had a multiplayer, like a time in my life that was quite like that when it came to online multiplayer.
That's amazing. Dude, it's so cool to hear stuff like that. For me, I don't even remember when my first online multiplayer experience was. You know that? I think like in modern times, I only remember the one instance, but I was already an adult, and I was living on my own and things like that. Yeah, I was already a man. But I really can't remember as a youngster. It's just that I think my youth, we didn't really have the internet. Not really. You know, it was Counter-Strike.
Really?
Where it was Counter-Strike. Yeah, you know why? Because it was, I don't know, somebody's birthday. Now back in those days, not everyone had my family included, didn't have the internet at home, really. Okay, so when we went, it was somebody's birthday, and they had a LAN cafe, a cyber cafe, where everyone would go, and you would all rent the computer spaces and whatever. And then the manager would have Counter-Strike playing a lot. So, dude, like, it was such an amazing experience for me who had never had the opportunity. And then we went there. I lost my mind. I wanted to go back every single day. I couldn't, but I wanted to go back every single day, like every opportunity I
honestly,
had.
I wish that was a thing still. I wish that people still did LAN parties and stuff like that.
Oh, I must tell you something. It's my birthday in August. If I get my way, I'm going to do a LAN party in my apartment. It's going to be weird, and I don't know if it's going to work, and I'm going to invite some of the guys here in Dubai, the older chaps, to bring them, but it'll be worth it, dude.
It'd be worth it. It'd be fun. Like, it'd be a good time. Even if it doesn't work, man, it'll be a good time.
Exactly. Even if it doesn't even work, it'll be fine. It'll be awesome. No, I miss those days, man.
Oh yeah, I agree. You know, there's nothing like, you know, I didn't do any LAN parties and stuff. I wasn't old enough, you know, to experience that, but I still played a lot of stuff split screen, a lot of stuff local, and it's still a thing to this day that I play a game and I'm like, dang, this would be so good if you could split screen this, and it's not a thing. I mean, there's more games now that require an internet connection to play them at all than there are games that you can play locally with a friend. So, you know, times change, but
you know, like my partner and I, we want to play a lot of games like together. You know, there's a lot of games that we both enjoy or like that you could just have a split screen. It would be totally fine. And I don't know why.
It's not a hard thing to implement.
Difficult. Yeah, it can't be that difficult. Hey, for goodness sake. I mean,
Borderlands still does it, right? Borderlands still does it. They have it all the way to the most recent one, Wonderlands. They still have split screen.
Really? I'm gonna look that up.
Dude, you can even better. You can play 4-player split screen on Borderlands 3 and all the remasters. Campaign. I'm not gonna say it's gonna run amazing, but it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
It would struggle, of course, but it exists. You know, I mean, it's cool that some people are still keeping it alive. It's important.
I think it's important.
But I want to roll it back just a tad to Half-Life 2. Let's go to that one real quick.
Oof.
I have an interesting story with Half-Life 2. So you remember how I told you that my grandfather would buy me games from the flea market?
Yes.
Well, one weekend he went to the flea market. I was at home. I think I went to church with my grandmother, and when I got back, he was there, and he had a few games. The main one that I remember was this one. He's like, "Oh, they said this is pretty cool, blah, blah, blah." And then I said, "Oh, okay, this one looks okay, interesting, I guess. It's, you know, some nerdy looking dude with glasses on the front of the case." And, you know, I was like, okay. Yeah, and I was like, okay, it looks interesting, you know. And I did go and play it, right? And I played it. And, you know, I probably played a handful. I think I played it on and off, right? I chose to play Halo 2 more than I did Half-Life 2. Funny enough.
Makes sense.
Some people out there would probably be like, how did you do that? Like, well, you know, like, Half-Life 2 is amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're not entirely wrong, but I'm just saying that, you know, Halo 2 was a pretty big one. I played a lot of Halo 2. But I played it, and the number one thing, so I want to say that I played it on and off, and I think the furthest I ever made it was to Ravenholm, which is one of my favorite parts of the game.
Ooh, very
and
nice.
I still haven't beaten Half-Life 2, but I have it, I'm like 75 to 80% through it on the orange box version of it.
Good.
Which I was playing more of it last year. I haven't got around to finishing it yet, but
You owe it to
I
yourself to
have
finish it.
that original Xbox copy, which apparently is the worst version of that game.
Okay. I didn't actually know about that, weirdly enough.
Yeah, apparently it's just the FOV's bad. There's a lot of issues, but hey, it still worked on a console, so what does it matter? But the number one thing, and this goes back to like how impactful like build engine stuff were. I didn't play build engine growing up, right? So that was later in life. But my first kind of build engine moment was playing Half-Life 2. At the very beginning of the game, when you are like the guards there, right? And the can's on the floor and he tells you to pick it up.
Yes.
Okay. You pick it up.
I know what you're going to say.
And I threw it at him, right?
Yeah.
And then he reacts and he beats you with the baton. And then you pick it up and you throw it in the trash can. And I was like, whoa, mind blown of the fact that a video game had an enemy or an NPC or someone in the game who reacted to a choice you made that you didn't have to make. You weren't just following what they said. Like, you had the option to physically pick something up and do what you wanted to do with it, and by not doing what you were told, there was a reaction. Now, if you look at that compared to today, or compared to things like I Love, like Prey and stuff like that, it's nothing, right? That's like elementary. That's kids' work. That's nothing, right? But at the time, dude, that was...
At the time.
There was nothing else like that. And that one moment stood out over everything else for over 20 years for me.
I can so relate to that, man. Like I played Half-Life 2 and the following chapters also on Orange Box. Okay, that was my first experience with Half-Life. I was on the Xbox 360. Dude, same thing. When when your jaw drops, like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's the moment that, like, I started Half-Life, and I'll be honest with you, straight up, I got the Orange Box for Portal. All right, because I was just, I was that guy, and I got it for Portal. I didn't even know what Half-Life was. I had no freaking idea.
Luckily, when I bought the Orange Box, I had already, I had Half-Life 2 on original Xbox, but I actually bought the Orange Box for Portal as well. So
nice. Well, you see, and I opened this thing up, and I think I had like an off day or whatever, and I'm like, let me see what these other games are, and I clicked onto Half-Life, and it was also, I was just like, I was sleepwalking through my morning. I was like, got the controller there. I was like, okay, pick up the can, throw it around, throw it at the guy because he's a dick, throw it there. And then I was like, oh shit,
comes over, he's like,
oh crap. I'll put the can in the dustbin. It's fine. I'm sorry. And I was like, right, I'm gonna stay here for a while. And I played the game. Oh, dude, that I have to agree. That well done, good calling that out. That was
that right point there, man. Like, and it's funny to think that Half-Life 2 is regarded as such a masterpiece, just defining game in the entire industry, and it's a game that I just said, psh, nerdy dude with the things, and just throw that over there and play Half-Life. I'm gonna play Halo 2 and fuck shit up with Master Chief. Like, it's funny to think that, but I mean, Halo 2 is, to me, is like one of those games, right? And so it just goes to show that everybody has those games, everybody's different, and everybody experiences things a different way, because I wouldn't see that level of interactivity in a video game, because I played BioShock 1 and 2 a little bit. I haven't beaten 2. I only beat 1 recently with the remasters, like last year. Even though I owned them on Xbox 360, they just fell into the backlog. I started with, but I have beaten the first one. Beat it last year. I'm like way through the second one, but I started BioShock with Infinite, right? But that was still after another game, and so I wouldn't see that level of interactivity in anything, because like I said, I dabbled in BioShock before I even owned them, because my dad rented them and I played a little bit. Yeah. But I wouldn't get that level of interactivity until Dishonored released.
Oh, interesting.
And when I got my hands on Dishonored, my world changed once again. Oh, that was the day that I became an immersive sim fan without even knowing what an immersive sim was. I didn't know what immersive sim was until 2017 when I played Prey. I never even heard the term. But then it all made sense when I figured it out. And Dishonored was that game. I mean, going from the only thing I'd really played that, I'd playing things with good stories and good gameplay, blah, blah, but like not seeing a game that ever reminded me of that moment in Half-Life 2 where the NPC reacted to my action. I never experienced that from what that had to have been 2004 until 2011 or 12 when that came out. So you're looking at 6-7 years that I didn't see anything like that. That I played Dishonored, and it's a game that allows me as much creative freedom to tackle situations, to pick up anything that I want and throw it at the wall, to throw it at an enemy, to throw it to distract an enemy,
security guard.
Yeah, or have like multiple ways to end a mission, even if it is somewhat structured compared to your average immersive sim, but so many ways to tackle missions or turn into rats and sneak through the thing or use rats to attack enemy. You know what I mean? Just the amount of freedom given in an immersive sim stealth game like Dishonored is still mind-blowing to this day, but it took 7 years for me to see more interactivity after something like Half-Life 2. Now, as far as environmental stuff, I mean, like I said, I played Battlefield Bad Company, which had environmental destruction, which was impressive. There was games like Splinter Cell that did stealth so phenomenal, and that was like up there with Metal Gear Solid is, some that I grew up playing. And Splinter Cell was amazing. It had so many great lighting tricks and stuff like that. I mean, I even played Doom 3 growing up. I had a demo, I had it on a demo disc, and I rented Resurrection of Evil, which I never beat. And I played Resurrection of Evil. I had Doom 3 demo disc. I don't think I ever finished the demo just because it scared the shit out of me. But Doom 3 was one that stuck out because of just how scary it was. It was like one of the first like horror games I really played, and the lighting and the atmosphere, the like kind of story, the gunplay and gameplay, but like interactivity, man, did not hit till Dishonored, and Dishonored just changed everything going forward. Changed everything.
That's brilliant. I've still not played Dishonored. Don't judge me.
You need to play Dishonored.
I know. It's like I need to finish Prey. All right, it's not because I don't want to. It's because I have a backlog, and then like
I need to finish Prey again. So
that's beautiful to hear.
For like the fourth time.
So many games. All right, it's the same with another person in my community. Osh.
Yeah.
He's like, have you finished it? I'm like, no. He's like, how could you start it and not finish it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's great though.
It is great. I was telling someone the other day, I was like, they need to figure out how to make that work on the Switch. I want it on Switch. Like, it'd be so challenging, but like, I'd play it.
Which would you get? Would you get the new Switch, which might be coming out soon, or would you get the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally? Good.
So like, if you're buying one of those for the first time, type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. I mean, like, if you like playing all of your PC stuff in your hands, then, I mean, Steam Deck is pretty great. But Switch is so good. I mean, like, if you were going to wait to get a Switch and the new one is rumored to be coming out, which I have one of the originals and I have an OLED, there's something about the fact that the Switch, like, if you want to, you can plug it into your TV and play it like a console. But you can also use it in your hands. It has such an expansive indie market. And it has so many games from the 360 PS3 era that have been ported over or remastered. It has so many original Xbox.
Switch.
It has so many original Xbox and PS2 games that have been remastered, some of which are actually exclusively on the Switch, ironically. There's several good shooters. I mean, it's fun to play Doom and Quake on there. I mean,
would you believe that I thought the Switch just had like basically mostly Nintendo games?
No, it has like the second largest indie market right next to Steam.
Damn.
Yeah, and there's always it has more like sales than Steam ever does. Like it has sales all the time, and it's amazing. You find so much crazy stuff. Like I've bought games on there for like 50 cents, and they were amazing. Like
I've been looking at getting myself a handheld, so okay. But I threaten for that every week. Oh man, but that's brilliant. It's really nice to hear your experiences with games like that because while I don't have a similar one with Halo 2, it's cool to see that someone else had one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just you can relate on that level. That's really
I mean, and
epic.
just like you with Doom, or the build engine games, man. Like it's good to hear that too, and it's cool to I mean, is there another game that was kind of like a Dishonored or something that that just really pushed the boundary even further in more modern times in the last 10 years or so?
You know what? I mentioned Halo 3, but that was very much a fleeting 1-2 year thing with me and a few friends in high school, which was lovely in its own way. But
I
I'll be
love
honest
Halo
with
3,
you,
but it was
never-
also pretty fleeting for me as well. So
as well, yeah. No, and you see, the thing is, this is maybe why I still play so many retro games, or what we consider retro games these days, is because I don't find games that grab me the way the older ones do or did as often anymore. Like, you and a few people give me hope with games like Prey and Dishonored, which I still need to play, which I'm very excited about. But other than that, like, I can't sit here and say to you, yeah, there was this one game. I can't even say that about a Doom Eternal, for example. You know what I mean?
What about Doom 2016? I know that one got you back into
Well,
shooters again.
Well, yes, but I mean, Doom 2016 was pretty sick. But the thing is, it's just like, besides Doom 2016 being like a return to form and really changing the mindset, introducing so many people to the game, the community, the space, the history being a big part of it, and things like that. Besides that, which is brilliant on its own, it's still Doom, if that makes sense. Like, I feel that Doom as an entity is almost timeless, and that's why I get a little frustrated with youngsters trying to say Doom Eternal is better than every other game ever. I'm just like, no, Doom Eternal is an amazing game as a game on its own, but like, a lot of the other entries are which other game does this? I can't think of it. I want to say Castlevania, but I'm not sure. But every Doom game besides Doom 1 and 2 is unique, basically. Okay, they have a unique approach to it, and yeah, there's improvements from 2016 to Eternal, but Eternal tries to be something that 16 is not, and it's the same with 3 was trying to be a horror game, and it's drastically different. And I hope that whatever we get in the future Doom franchise is going to be its own unique thing. I mean, business is business, so they'll do what works. I get it, but I don't want them to also be the same. I don't want another Doom Eternal or another 2016 or whatever. I want them to take inspiration, but I'd like them to put their own spin on something new. What that is, I'm not sure, but like, yeah, so that should be very interesting.
I think it's good to just keep looking at the boomer shooters. I think it's good to just keep looking at those. I also think if you want some cool ones to check out, you obviously need to beat Prey, right? You need to play Dishonored. You need to check out Titanfall 2 as for modern games.
Excuse me, sir. Yes, there we go. There's one. Titanfall 2 is excellent. It's brilliant.
There you go.
It is amazing.
You have played Titanfall 2.
All right.
Okay.
I have played Titanfall 2.
Okay, yeah.
In fact,
Titanfall 2 is almost a modern Half-Life like story kind of game.
It actually is, isn't it? I gifted it to a friend of mine here in Dubai. He'd never played it before, and like you, it's just like, no. I'm getting this for you. He's like, oh, but it's a lot of money. I was like, I don't care. Take this game.
Yeah, it's good.
I played it. I said, I don't want you to even stream it. He's also a streamer. I was like, I don't want you to stream this. I want you to relax. I want you to set on a Friday night.
Yeah.
You got your whole weekend ahead of you. I want you to play Titanfall 2. Just enjoy your life. And it is such a great game. Actually, now that you bring it up, that was surprisingly so.
I mean, it came out the same year as Prey, and they were both underappreciated as hell.
Oh, sure. And good points. That is one thing that breaks my heart, is that we
probably
won't get a Titanfall 3. It was EA's fault completely.
Well, I don't know. I have some hope because we talked about this before, but yeah, Titanfall 2 failed because EA put it right between Battlefield and Call of Duty, which is stupid.
You mentioned.
But yeah, we talked about it before because Respawn are the creators of Titanfall, and Respawn obviously got a lot of success from Apex Legends, a lot of success from Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order. And I think that will allow them to create a Titanfall 3. I think that it will give them success, and money is what makes the ability for a game developer to do what they want to do. It's kind of like the success of Deathloop allowing Arcane to make a Blade game, which I am so excited for.
That looks very good, by the way.
And then the failure of Redfall, who knows what is next for Arcane also.
I don't know what the fuck's going on there.
But, that stuff like that. I hope that there is a Titanfall 3. They've been doing a lot of Titanfall connecting more so in the last year or so within the Apex Legends
I feel
lore
the same thing.
than they have before.
Yeah,
so
I've seen this.
we'll see. And the funny part is that Apex Legends and its lore got more people to go play Titanfall 2 to the point that Titanfall 2 had a resurgence in multiplayer and player base over the last year or so. Oh, yeah. And there's actually more people now asking for a Titanfall 3 than there ever were in the last 6 years or so. So, oh, yeah. I mean, there's potential there.
I'm hopeful. I am hopeful. And especially when single player games like, I mean, away from the multiplayer for a second, especially when single player games like Doom Eternal do so well, it shows that there is a want for single player games, a massive want for single player games that make a lot of money, so I'm hopeful like you, so we'll see.
I'm also looking forward to you finishing I'm looking forward to you finishing Darkness 2 and 1 and Prey 2006 eventually.
Oh yeah, dude. So the Darkness 2, by the way, that's actually so much fun. It's been a lot of fun, and I forgot every time I'm going through it, I'm realizing, oh, this feels like obviously it's an old game, but this is like an old game because the going into his mansion and things like that so early in the game, and just talking to the NPCs and the little mini games, the little side conversation. I was just like, oh god, this is nice. This feels just like
it's unique, man.
Really,
you watched my video, right?
Your video was very good. Yeah, I was gonna say your video was very good. Really enjoyed that, and I'm glad you went with that thumbnail. By the way, that was my favorite.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Link in the description to Dead Forge's Darkness video.
Yeah. So Darkness 2 is a good one, man. And I think I want to point something out before we hop off, but did you notice the things that Forgive Me Father took inspiration from Darkness 2 without the developer even potentially knowing it?
Yes, I did.
The skill tree, for one.
Yeah.
Very much so. Like it's pretty interesting because like I think the skill tree is one of the biggest elements that are like it's almost identical to the way Darkness 2 does its skill tree.
The thing is, the best artists steal.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt.
the better artists steal well.
Hey, they might not even know that. They might even know that they did that, right? Because Darkness 2 was pretty underappreciated and stuff. So I mean, he might not even know.
I think a lot of the time, I don't think like. As an artist myself, someone who's trying to get away from, and I don't. This is not the topic of this podcast. Maybe we can have another episode about this.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm trying to make less and less. There you go. Foreboding. I'm trying to make less content for content's sake.
Yeah. We were talking about
more great videos, but art and things like that. But then I look at sometimes I think people do things without knowing that they picked it up somewhere. Like
all the time.
I realized the other day. All the time, and I think that's okay. I think like the other day I was busy playing with one of my videos, and I was like, oh, where have I seen this before? Because I'd literally been watching a similar video, and then I went back, and it turns out it's the Trav guy, and he was doing a Doom video, and I was like, oh, so that transition that I was doing, that's where I got it from.
Yeah, so that happens with film and music and every piece of art. Whatever it is that you're consuming at the time, like whatever it is that you're interacting with, a lot of times is going to influence what you're doing. And I mean, even if it could be months and weeks behind, years behind, and sometimes it'll just kind of pop in your brain, and there's some cool things that I've picked up from people, right? I picked up, I do an after video segment thing like I did in Darkness 2 and stuff like that. And
I like that.
Yeah, that 100%. I've done that before, and that came from Arkham 666. He does that in his videos. It's not the same, it's different. I'm not trying to rip him off, right? But it was inspired by that. And I've done so kind of like the one I did, the intro I did for Darkness 2, and thing I did for my recent My Friendly Neighborhood video. I did something kind of similar to what the Frankly Gaming does. You see, I recently was talking to him about how he does his intros, but I kind of started doing a thing like that where it's like a spanning thing, and I say like Dead Forge Productions or Dead Forge Presents or that kind of stuff, and go in, like you talk beforehand, then do that, then go into the video, kind of thing.
Frankly Gaming.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. I've had him on the podcast before.
Damn. Yeah, I haven't heard that episode. That's how I found him. Because I saw his name was on... Okay,
yeah.
Never mind, ignore me.
Yeah, he's really cool. And, I was kind of inspired with some of that stuff from his intro things that he does really well on. Yeah, that happens, and it's a cool little thing. You'll in transitions and so on, like you'll just kind of get inspired, or that's how you grow as an artist.
You do, and like I said, I think that's why I'm not surprised to hear that. Like, Forgive Me Father borrowed some
Yeah, yeah.
ideas from the Darkness and things like that. It's very cool to see. I mean, if it works and it looks cool, it works for your universe, give it a try. Put on your own little twist.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on before we head out?
Oh no, I gotta go and make a whole video about Build Engine now.
Go start writing it down. Get your ideas down and Build Engine, and I'll pop in there I'll pop in your video like the toasty guy from Mortal Kombat and just pop up, just out of nowhere. Hey,
actually, let's do that.
It's me.
Actually, I'm gonna ping you on that idea.
Okay, I can do it. I'll pop in and do a Duke impression that I sent you.
That would be excellent, actually. That'd be excellent.
He's like, oh, hold on, let me jot this down real quick. Yeah, no. I'm down for anything.
All around here.
I'm down for anything. I'd love to collaborate with you on anything else because it's a good time. I like collaborating with people in general. Did you watch that one that I did with Storm on immersion in games? Did you watch that, right? Yeah. You commented on that.
I think because I was commenting on Storm wanted to change his name.
Yeah,
and I said he should just keep it the same way.
I think you watched the video that me and him did together on immersion in games. He edited it so beautifully. Yeah, because you said there was like a funny contrast between our voices.
You know what? I'm such a bad person because I probably watched it, was totally fine with it, and then my brain went to sleep.
It's a really good video though. You can go back and watch it again. It's a pretty good one.
I will.
He edited it beautifully, and me and him were talking, and he was saying how, like, when I sent him the clips, that I inspired him to actually change the video a little bit, like based on what I sent him, because I think the second part that I did went a little deep. So,
ooh,
yeah,
nice. I just saw now. I haven't actually watched it. I'm gonna have to watch it.
Thank you
for that. That's cool. Oh, it was during my break period.
Oh, okay.
So I've been away. No worries. But no, bro,
right.
I have covered most of it. I gotta go and worry about the cats and Build Engine.
Go take care of the cats and Build Engine. Hit me up later, and I'll pop into the video.
I know you will. I'm actually keen on that. Actually.
All right, sounds good.
Cool. But dude, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'd love to have you again. We can talk more about content and art next time for sure. That's a pretty deep topic that I've talked about a lot recently with a lot of people just through Twitter and Discord and so on. It keeps coming up. I think it's a good thing because there is quite that disparity on YouTube, that just back and forth. But for sure, man, it was awesome having you on. Definitely going to have you on again. Hit me up about that collaboration, and I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you soon, my friend. Thanks again.
All right. See ya.